Hey, welcome back to the Forge, guys. This is Mike from Northman Wood and Iron, and I was going to just do a quick little demo today on making a hair stick. Something fairly simple. It's kind of a good beginner project. And basically what I'm using is this piece of small round stock. It's about 3/16 round stock, and this is actually part of one of those little yard signs, you know, that for elections and all that. I'm sure everybody has a bunch of those right now. That was stuck in the yard by, I think, a cable company or something. We had like a, you know, subscribe to this internet service, whatever. So I'm just going to use some of this, and we're going to upcycle it and make a hair stick. It'll take a minute. The forge is cold right now. I just now fired it up, so it'll take just a second for that to get warmed up, so that we can start going to town on this thing. While I'm at it, I guess just remind you to, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe and click the little bell so you get notifications when I do put out another one. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And while we're waiting again for this to heat up, I can tell you that if you'd like to follow me on Instagram, where I post most of my content, most of the things that I make, it is at Northman Wood and Iron, all one word. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start out by doing a short little taper on this tip, and we're going to draw that out right at the edge of the anvil there. Striking your anvil, that'll mess up your anvil really quick. And I'm rotating, as I hit that, I'm rotating at 90 degrees, hitting twice, back 90 degrees, hitting twice, on and on. And that keeps that taper fairly even. We're going to take another heat because the anvil's really cold right now. It's winter time here in Michigan. And even though the shop is heated, I keep it turned down really low. So that anvil is kind of like a big block of ice right now. And it steals the heat from this metal pretty quick, especially on really thin stuff like this. Find that point. And now that I've got it drawn out the way I want, I'm going to take those little flat, or those corners, because now I have a square point, and I'm just going to make that square into an octagon, and then once it's an octagon, we'll just rotate it and round that right out. Again, this anvil's really cold today, so this is the first thing we're doing this morning, so it's stealing a lot of heat from that metal. One of the things you guys can do to combat that when you first get in your forge and you fire up your forge, if you've got a big chunk of steel or something, you can sit in the forge, whether it's coal or propane, and get that hot and set it on your anvil while you're getting ready to do your work for the day. I didn't have time to do that today, but you can set it on the anvil, let the anvil absorb some of that heat, and it won't steal as much of the heat from your workpiece. Again, I'm making made the square into an octagon, and now I'm just rounding it out really nice. Perfect, because we're going to twist it around and do kind of fun stuff here in just a second. Once we get all the twisting done on the end, then we'll cut this off to length, because right now it's obviously, nobody wants a hair stick that long. You're going to poke people's eyes out with that like crazy. Quick note, while it's in the forge heating up, your hammer face. Okay, this is, I see a lot of people neglect this. A lot of got some old hammer, like this one's fairly soft. I don't know if you can see it. It's got some dings and things in it. You don't want to leave hammers like that you're using for finished work, because all they're going to do is transfer those dings and scratches and scrapes onto your material. So now I'm going to take these little round nose pliers, make a little bend there just for giggles. I'm going to make it tinier than that. It's a little bigger than I actually want. And I don't know what shape we'll do with this thing. That's a little bit bigger than I want. I need a little more heat on that. It doesn't really matter. It is what whatever shape you want to put on the end. You can put a heart on the end of that. You can do all kinds of different things. This is probably the fiddliest part, because you've got that whole thing hot, especially in a propane forge. The whole thing is pretty hot, and you're trying to make little tiny bends, which I could do in like with a vise, a propane torch, something like that. I could actually make these aesthetically pleasing, and that's it. So anyway, back to the hammer face. Make sure you're dressing your hammer faces. You sand them down nice. Don't get them too hot. You don't want to lose the temper on your hammer. You should just be able to hand sand it with some fine grit every once in a while. If you get dings or what have you in there. I can't try it out, see what it looks like. We're going to go with it though. Alright. Now what I'm going to do is come down somewhere right about here and get that hot. I'm going to go over to the hot cut hardy. Once it's hot, we're just going to cut that off. Put on a glove. Once we cut it off, we'll go to using tongs to hold it. A little bit of a pain, but anytime you can leave things long and do some of the fiddly work first so that you can hold it in your hand instead of using tongs, honestly, I find that beneficial when possible. So here we go with the hot cut. We're going to get the length we want. Remember, we're going to taper it and draw it out just a little bit. It's going to get a little longer than it is. There's that. Remember, whenever you're in a blacksmith shop or a welding shop, assume that everything is hot, okay? Don't just go grabbing things with your bare hands. Assume that it's hot, because chances are it is. All right, now what we're going to do is just draw this end out to a little point, a little bit longer of a point than we did on the last one, because we want that to be a nice, nice smooth transition. And then once that's done, we're going to slightly square up. This is round stock. If you twist round stock, you can't really tell. So we're going to slightly square that round stock so that when we twist it, you can actually see some twists in there, okay? Drawing that point out a little bit longer, a little smoother transition. I'm going to take another heat. Again, this anvil's still really cold. And in this case, that's like 130, I think 133 pounds of really cold. It's going to take a while to warm that up. Your orange heat, your red heat. This is where you're doing your shaping. And then once you get to this black heat like this, then you're kind of refining, taking out hammer marks, things of that nature. I don't want it super sharp because I don't want somebody to stab themselves in the head. So this is pretty good. We're going to knock those flats down, make this octagonal. I'm going to round the point, but then I'm going to put flats on the rest of it so that we can do a little twist, okay? Turn the gas up a little bit so it doesn't take as long. Nobody wants to watch me standing here waiting for something to heat up. All right. You guys notice I'm using one hand to turn these tongs, twist them around. And that's one thing you're going to have to get good at. Just controlling those tongs in your other hand. That's not too bad. Just dress that out really quick. Again, this anvil's stealing a lot of heat. So normally if the forge is hot, it's warm in here, the anvil's warmed up for me doing other projects. I normally do these towards the end of the day if I'm doing little stuff like this, because then the anvil's already nice and warm and it doesn't steal the heat on this small stuff. I try to work my big stuff in the beginning of the day, small stuff towards the end of the day. All right, I'm going to call that good. Now what we're going to do is, actually I'm going to use a different, I'm going to use some blacksmith pliers here. And we're going to go ahead and put those flats on once we heat this thing up just a little bit. And again, it doesn't have to be perfectly square, like super crisp edges. I'd rather it doesn't. It can be slightly radius, but it has to have flats on it in order for you to see the twist. And you don't have to twist these. These are really personal preference. You can make them however you like them. Sometimes I leave them round. Sometimes I flatten them and don't twist them. You know, it just depends on what you want to do that day, right? The metal back here is black. You can see that it's not real warm, but I'm going ahead and doing it anyway with this. This is low carbon steel, nothing fancy, so you can kind of get away with cold working it on things like that. We're going to go with that. Now what I'm going to do, stick it back in here. Get it nice and hot again. We're going to go over to the vise. We'll give it a little twist. Get my vise straws close anyway. Give it some twist, and then we'll probably brass brush it just for giggles. Give it a little character while it's still hot. Alright, that ought to be good. Nice grab on there. Where I want it. Not bad, I like that. Give it a brush, get all this scale off of here. Now, I'm going to use a rawhide mallet because I don't want to mar that twist up. Just want to get it kind of straight. Sometimes I'll use the vise straws. Just give it really light little squeezes. Nice and straight. Now we're still nice and hot. We're not red heat, but we got a nice black heat. This is a 100% brass bristle brush. It's not a brass coated steel brush. It's a brass bristle brush. And if I brush this while it's still hot, some of those brass molecules are going to transfer over to this steel. gives it a nice, slightly brassed finish. All right, and I think what I'm going to do, really quickly, is turn this around, put the head of the pin in the forge, get that a little warm. That way I can brass brush that as well. These are not normal pliers, by the way. There's actually a little groove in there for holding like small round or square stock. It's not just a pair of pliers. They're specifically made for this. So it's not like just grabbing a pair of pliers out of the toolbox and trying to hold something that never works very good. All right, I left that in a little long. If it's red hot when you try to put the brass on, it doesn't do anything. Or if it does, you can't see, it just kind of burns up the brass. I actually burned some off of there. I was busy talking, I shouldn't have been. While I'm waiting on that, I want to give this just a hair of a tweak. Yeah, I like that better. There we go. Now, and I like to, when I'm doing the brass brushing, go in a couple different directions so that you make sure you're transferring to the whole surface. If you just go in one direction, you'll find that you're transferring onto only part of it. All right, I like that. Last thing we're going to do on this is, again, the rawhide mallet. I'm going to bend this kind of the decorative portion, the handle, if you will. I'm going to just give that a little bit of a reflex down so that once it's put in, it can kind of nest a little closer to the head, doesn't stick out. You can see that nice little curve. And I might hit that with this brass over here again, where I might have cooked some off of there in the forge. And it's nice when you have areas that are heavier and lighter. I think it gives it kind of a nice patina. And that is that. There's our hairpin. Hope you guys like that. It was a quick, easy project. This is a great, like, you get home from work, you just want to make something cool, you get home from school, or on a Saturday morning, you just have a few minutes, you want to go out and do something. It's a fun little project, and you can either make a barrette type thing to go with these, like a, I don't know what the heck they call those, a hair thing. You can do a leather one, you can do a metal one, or you can leave these into, like, on their own. My wife actually wears these in her hair all the time. I have to be really careful when I hug her not to poke my eyes out. So that's awesome. All right, guys, that was it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and remember to subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you get notifications when I put up a new video. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.